kind of get started with a more broad overview of what the market's been offering. We'll talk about some activity on Friday that had some renewed interest in upside behavior. And we'll also talk about whether things are shifting under the hood, or should we be expecting more of the same coming in the next couple months. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk through the SPX expected move from last week. So if we're looking at the overall volatility of last week's market, we saw approximately $113 expected move at the beginning of the week. And as you can tell by some of the price activity, we did achieve that expected move on Wednesday. We saw a little bit of an upper breach of that area. And then on Friday, we saw a breakout, essentially closing outside of the expected move. The overall deviation from what the market priced at the beginning of the week is not highly significant, but I think overall the occurrence of the breach on Friday led to a lot of covering, a lot of gamma exposure. If you're familiar with the option dynamic that occurs in this product, you'll know that a lot of Friday expiration options will actually drive the price in one direction whenever there's momentum, whenever we have some reason to think one direction. So good morning, everybody. I'm kind of seeing some of the YouTube comments now. So these are some things to always kind of keep in mind as we move week to week. There was a period of a couple of weeks where we were seeing more efficiency in the market. Essentially, the weekly volatility was getting the price range accurate relative to the close. But we've encountered more Friday breaches as of late. You'll notice last week we had another breach to the upside, and it's usually preceded by the expected move being tested early in the week. So what this means is that the SPX is not really getting the expected move wide enough relative to these breaches. And a lot of times we're going to be seeing some exposure in one direction or another on those Fridays, those gamma related movements in the market. So these are drivers. They're market dynamics that we have to be careful of. And ultimately, as day traders, it's one of the best things we can kind of hope for, because if you were trading on Friday, your thesis should have been long. Not only because the market was in a trend, but because as we were starting to breach the expected move, the long thesis actually got more powerful. It became more facilitated by the lack of downside behavior, along with that market dynamic driving a lot of these options into ranges of risk. And as a trader, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for one side to be wrong, another side to be right, and for the market to drive in one direction, as directional traders at least. So knowing that, and coming into this week, which this week is still chock full of earnings, albeit we did get through our major tech, probably mega market cap earnings. A lot of the consumer discretionary stocks are done. The major communication stocks, Alphabet and Meta, are complete, and Netflix as well, kind of the first one, along with Apple and Microsoft, our two big tech names. You could even lump in companies like Visa, which did have pretty good performance and a fairly decent earnings report as well. So it actually moved bullish on that report. So with all that said, we're coming into a still fairly heavy catalyst week. This is technically the FOMC meeting. We're going to be getting the announcement of what the next rate hike looks like. And if you're looking for where that's going to be placed, bring up the website here. You'll want to go to the Federal Reserve website. All of the FOMC meetings from the past have been placed here, all of the statements, the subsequent press conference, and sort of material that was used in the conference. And then 2 weeks later, we always get the minutes, which doesn't really move the market, but sometimes offers a little bit more clarity as to what was said. So this week, we're getting back into the swing of things with the Fed being the main catalyst to look out for. Know that it's on Wednesday, know that it's at 2 o'clock market time. Obviously, we'll be trading around that time in Florida with some of the mods joining us for the BBT workshop. So it's going to be a great week. I think we'll have a lot to encounter, but it also means that the risk is high. And by risk, I mean directional bias. And as we shift into our current expected move, notice a few things about the characteristics of the movement relative to the expected move pricing. Market expects about $117 this week. From last week's close, about 39.01. That brings us to 40.19. Downside would be 37.83. The issue that I have with this is we're getting moves in this market relative to the expected move in a single session. So if you really look at Friday's price, Friday's candle, the market itself moved about 100 points in one session. And if you look at the expected move for the entire week, we only have about 113. So it showcases that the volatility we're experiencing is a bit more of an outlier case. It's more anomalous than what the option market derives. And when we get that in a single session, it puts a lot of traders on sometimes the wrong side of the market. Obviously, there might have been some traders who took a short, seeing that sort of topping tail on Wednesday. There's nothing wrong with that thesis based on price activity, but we're still seeing a lot of reversal and release of this energy underneath us. That volatility box that we were locked in for a long period of time is really coming out of the market, and it's putting a lot of people under pressure, especially if you're still short biased. So best hair flick. I'm just trying to keep the hair out of my head at this point. It's getting right into my eye. So these are some concepts to keep in mind. If you're short-term trading multiple sessions, short-term swing, maybe just looking at price activity as triggers for some of your trades, keep in mind that we're still in pretty volatile ranges here. And to this point, we're still looking at bullish trade. A lot of the sort of sell signals have been negated along the way, and we're still inside of that net bullish channel, which we talked about last week. As I shift into the SPY, you can see that we're still sort of riding through a flag. It's still corrective in its nature, but the point of these flags is to really put more people under pressure as it's forming. And ultimately, when it does break, we'll know relative to a new catalyst. The more likely candidate would be something like the FOMC, and that is, of course, if there is a surprise. So for the day ahead, I'll kind of shift back into, what to expect today. And I think the key here is we're still looking pretty heavily at a market-driven marketplace, an SPX or SPY-driven marketplace. Most of the time, we're still seeing fairly correlated intraday sessions. The issue, of course, is not every stock correlates at the exact same time, but when the correlation hits, most stocks will be performing in one direction. And as you've seen, most of our more net bullish sessions have been the stronger candidates. There's been quite a few sessions that have been trend days, starting from the lows, usually starting in a bit of weakness actually, and then rallying throughout the rest of the session. So, keep these concepts in mind, and also keep some levels in mind, because we do have them at this point in time. As I kind of zoom out a little bit further, even a 30-day at this point is not really doing. You can see that we're starting to hit some levels that were uh, more or less balanced out last September. And this is a short-term, sort of a 3-day balance range in the SPY. I don't have them anchored perfectly here, but you can kind of see where they form. And on yesterday's session, or Friday session, we actually made it to the highs. You could argue that the top of the sell candle is pretty important. You could also move it up into this sort of after hours trade, and notice where the market ended. If I'm just looking at what was the last price for the S&P, it was about 390.23. The highest price in September relative to the next sell swing was 390.3. So, coincidence aside, we're looking at a pretty significant resistance zone that led to a sell swing, even though we're in the midst of this reversal. So don't be too surprised today to see this area of the market respond in kind. We might see a little bit more profit taking. We did have a rally last week, so a little bit of a 2 or 3 day consolidation would be healthy. We're in a balance range, so the rules of the balance range are to treat it like a trading range. You want to be exiting shorts near the lows, and that's going to be anchored somewhere around 382.11. If I'm giving you an exact number, 382.11 is what I would mark. I'll go ahead and mark that now. You also should be exiting longs near the top of the balance range. And the idea is simple. In order to avoid some of the chop, that's kind of where your best risk to reward lies. And we've seen it before. We've seen other balance ranges form and respond in the future. This one's back in September, so we do want to confirm that that's the trade behavior moving forward. But just looking at clear support and resistance, I definitely wouldn't be too bullish in this area, not without another pullback. And the reason being is, whether I'm looking at the short-term channels, the previous balance range, or the idea that the market's going to continue its rally into the FOMC, a few things might kind of stand out this week as not really providing that sort of trade behavior. I will say, though, that the market is dead set on putting a lot of pressure on shorts right now. It does appear as if a lot of key stocks rallied on Friday and really put that directional risk back into the marketplace. Obviously, the key one to kind of lean on from Friday was Apple. And Apple was notable for a couple reasons. One, they probably had one of the better earnings reports as far as the mega market caps were concerned. Not saying that they were great. The earnings themselves, one could argue that the price response wasn't necessarily in line with the earnings beat that they did have. But ultimately, there was a lot of Friday trade, especially in the option market, that drove Apple's price higher. And I might not have the statistics anymore. I actually do. I want you to take a look at just how significant the volume was on Friday. If you're noticing down here, the total volume, as I get my Epic pen to come up, might have to shift my hair over to find it. Some of the volume that was coming through this particular underlying, and remember, it's the most important one for the S&P, was significant. I mean, this is not only elevated, but it's also very sensitive types of volume, because it's Friday. You had a lot of earnings traders in that 0 date expiration series, once Friday did occur. You combine that with a lot of volatility reduction because it was elevated into the earnings themselves. And this stock basically put the heat on the market back to the upside. I would argue that it also probably dragged up a lot of underperforming names. The idea that these stocks were immediately bought up, the answer is yes, the price did rise. But I think there was a lot of correlated sort of response to what was happening in Apple, even though these names technically were bearish into their actual earnings report. I kind of, caveat that with these stocks were just as sensitive. They had just as much open interest. They had just as much focus, and Amazon technically was 2 times outside of the expected move. The marketplace was pricing in about a $10 to $12 high to low kind of trade, and we closed on that Thursday at 110. So Amazon did drop. I think at the lowest point it was priced at about 87.50. That's 2 times outside the expected move. And remember, there are some characteristics that can sort of drive the price back. It's the idea of a rubber band. It can bend only so far. And the more relaxed state where the energy can come back in happens to be for the market to pull back inside of those ranges. Somewhere around 100 would have been ideal. It actually rallied a bit further into the afternoon, about 103.50. So definitely some big volatility on Friday, and you kind of look across the market, you can see it in all of the key underlyings. A stock like Tesla was starting to sell off in the morning. It actually started off the session a bit weak, but as we were correlating in a lot of our key underlyings, even stocks like Tesla were getting that bid back into them, with the idea that they really just opened and closed near the same price. The fact that we dipped and then rallied. So that behavior, to me, drove a lot of Friday's trade. You could look at something like a tick chart as well. I know this is more of a short-term indicator, but if you're looking through some of Friday's trade and you kind of, zero in on your zero line, a lot of the ticks throughout the morning trade was actually bullish. There's a lot of upticking stocks in the NYSE, and that kind of kept going throughout the session. If you're using anything like a cumulative tick indicator, or you just have a way to visualize tick more as a trend, sometimes you can do studies like this where you're simply looking at the tick chart relative to the asset you're trading. And obviously, this is more relevant for like a market ETF, anything that has a wider breadth than just one simple underlying. You're going to see a lot of those higher readings relative to the zero line. There are dips and pullbacks accordingly, but most of the trade actually stayed in the positive territory. That actually drives trend days. You kind of need to have a certain amount of breadth in your market. It can be positive or negative. You also need there to be this sort of relative bid in certain underlying stocks, and the likes of Apple was definitely the key stock to focus in on. So those are some things from last week. Obviously we're kind of wrapping up major earnings, and as we're coming into this week, the question is, what should we be doing as traders? I think overall, if you're staying in the day trading realm, keep doing a lot of the same, but this market is not necessarily one-sided. There are going to be sessions where the market is consolidative, a bit more range bound, even pulling slightly lower. And usually I kind of keep the SPY as my indicator as to whether or not to even think about going bearish. If the S&P is starting low and essentially confirming trend characteristics back to the upside, in this particular region of trade, we've had trouble actually finding tops. The market has been closing relatively strong, whenever the session has started from the lows, the channel approach that we're in. But looking kind of back and seeing what's been in focus, we're still seeing a lot of more defensive, a little bit more recessionary names perform last week. Real estate utilities are leaders just from a weekly performance, and they are coming off of lows. So keep that in mind as well. They were beaten up quite a bit. They're rallying relative to last week's performance, but overall, they're still in a pretty bearish position right now. Industrials actually took a little bit of additional market cap to the upside. And then we saw financials actually lead as one of the key sectors to focus on. Financials, we obviously had technology strength, mostly on the Friday, and then healthcare. These sectors remain areas to basically find new trade ideas. I'm continuing to look at healthcare as kind of a winner into the next quarter or two. Not only because it makes sense from a cyclical perspective, but the technicals are actually starting to line up as well. You bring up the idea of which sector is not only recovering, but has broken through all of those dynamic resistance zones, those moving averages and trend lines. Healthcare is one of them. And as I look at some of the names in healthcare, United Healthcare is a key name. This thing almost made new all-time highs on Friday. Johnson & Johnson, really strong rally off of its earnings reaction. I actually don't have earnings showing anymore. Where did I lose that? I think I want that corporate actions. Okay, yeah, off of earnings. The AbbVies and the Pfizers of the world are also coming off of their lows, but I think the focus has been shifting into stocks like Merck, which did make new, I think, relative highs on this one, actually new all-time highs. These are massive turnaround plays relative to multi-year performance. And when you look at where the market is focused right now, I mean, there's not many stocks that look like this across the market. So you definitely want to pay attention to what's being bought in this marketplace and maybe anticipate ones that still have room back to the upside, especially if you're a bull looking for new opportunities. I definitely think healthcare is an area to focus in on. So that alone can drive just a little bit more market breadth, just coming into RSP, a little bit of an equal weight look at the S&Ps. The thing is starting to come off of its lows, those June anchored lows, CPI reaction lows. Everything's been showcasing the type of recovery here, and it's not in a couple of sectors. It's a little bit more spread out. Communication's still quite down. I'm just calling out the weaker sectors here. Technology's recovering, but still has kind of that look of, ooh, this can turn very quickly, versus things that are actually trying to break out. I'm definitely keeping an eye on financials as one of those areas. It's a moment of truth for a lot of these because they're either at resistance or they have just a little bit of room left to go before we might see another high, a lower high approach. Even though last week's session was quite strong, I'm definitely keeping an eye on how fast are we moving into these resistance points, and do I want to buy the next dip? Do I actually want to initiate trade relative to a pullback? So those things will keep us kind of on the right side of trade as we enter into the FOMC. Regardless of how the market responds, I think there are sectors that are starting to showcase independence. They're not necessarily just correlated up and correlated down every single day. They're actually doing a little bit of their own thing. For some traders, that's ideal because they remain resilient in pullbacks. The market's coming off and your sector is holding in a range or just kind of consolidating, that might offer a time frame for you to put on new positions and basically release them in the next bullish wave of momentum. Similarly with bearish sectors, there's definitely still some problems following stocks like Meta. Google itself did rally, kind of more on the Friday, but remember the earnings themselves were bearish. The response itself was quite down, and I think these are going to separate some of the new performers compared to the old. We're seeing a little bit more downside in the mega market caps, but other sectors are starting to shine, and they're actually leading the market forward. You combine that with earnings this week, which I'll just kind of shift over quickly. Not too much on today's calendar. You might be looking at a couple of names like a semi-play in XPI. Aflac's one of those healthcare insurance kind of plays, less impactful to the overall market, but overall nothing crazy significant today. But tomorrow, I think we're kind of getting back into the swing of things. We have stocks like Eli Lilly. Looks like AMD is reporting as well. Double check that. Mondelez, Airbnb. These are plays we're familiar with. Pretty great intraday traders when they have a catalyst, and the list goes on throughout the week. What you're noticing though is we're not getting those heavy hitters. So the overnight trade, the gap down risk, and some of the volatility of holding a position, whether it be a swing or some sort of option trade, I think is going down. Less volatile impact overnight, more the market preparing for the week, and especially with FOMC on Wednesday, start considering how you're going to play that trade. It could be just intraday, could be looking maybe to hedge. If you're looking at a hedging moment, this would be a time to consider a little bit of volatility exposure in a portfolio and really just stay safe. The market doesn't have to move down relative to these meetings. It also doesn't have to move down on that day. We've seen plenty of FOMCs that were bullish the day of, next day we gave it all back. And I think to kind of round out, what we're going to be looking at in Wednesday's trade and also just in the Florida workshop, the market's been pricing in a little bit of a chance of a 50-point rate hike. I'm talking about the change over time. Last week, this was essentially a 1 in 20 chance. Now we're looking at 13% probability as of the open. Market's seeing the potential of a slightly less hawkish Fed, and that alone can drive more bullish activity. It can feel a bit more like a grind to the upside until we get the actual information. And ultimately, some of the response of other centralized financial institutions have been showcasing what is possible in regards to inflation and the overall rate hike situation. So these are things to watch. Trade safe this week. Obviously, tomorrow we might not be doing engineering the market. I'll be traveling during that time, so if I don't see y'all tomorrow, I'll be back Wednesday. Stay tuned for pre-market prep as always, and like and subscribe if you like the content that you're seeing. Happy Halloween, and talk to you then. Trade safe.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the PreMarket Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. Good morning, Norm. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning, buddy. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good.
Good.
Looking forward to our workshop this week. Very excited about that. And a lot of us traveling out
Absolutely.
tomorrow, and can't wait, man. It's gonna be a great time. Guys, big shout out to Jared with his his costume today. Let's give him a big thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate him every much Monday through Thursday with engineering the market. So thank you, Jared. Um, Guys, let's get to it. Our gappers list this morning. We are a little bit on both sides of the field here. Some stuff in the green, more stuff in the red. Couple of names that we're very familiar with. I see some Chinese tickers already on deck making some noise. XBEV, Lee, Billy on here. PBR, is PBR Chinese?
No, it's Brazilian.
This Brazilian, oh yeah, oil, yeah, yeah. So yeah, we'll see what's happening there, and a couple of things in the green, especially GameStop making a little bit of noise today, as well. Spy at the moment we are pretty much flat, Norm, after a strong week last week. What is the latest and greatest here?
Been a strong month, man.
Yeah,
October has been pretty damn strong, especially for the Dow. The industrials, um, the big steady companies have done really well. So we'll see. There's a lot of talk. Is this real? Is this fake bounce? Is this, we going to go lower? So we'll see. We had the mega cap earnings last week, which were a bit crazy. Today we've got Chicago PMI. I mean, the big news this week is obviously the FOMC meeting tomorrow and Wednesday, policy announcement 2 p.m. on Wednesday, as always, followed by press conference with Jay Powell at 2:30. So, um, you know, I, I think three quarters of a point is baked in. I think that's what everybody's expected. I think the chance of deviation from that is slim to none. So I don't know how many surprises we will have, but it'll be interesting to get their commentary and see what's said.
yeah. And this market too, right? It's been so sensitive that any little thing is just, even when it's expected, this
Yep.
market tends to react very aggressively. So either way, I think it's gonna be interesting, of course. All right. With that said, guys, let's remove our stuff from Friday here. Control A, Control X, and we'll hop over right into our gapping up list this morning. So first one on deck up 9% this morning. ATNM, and this thing was up 1350. Looks like right back down to around 10. So a little bit weird. Extremely light on volume, by the way. Look at the daily here.
Yeah, this is a lower float. It's not under 20, but it's right at 24 million. They had some phase three data that came out, popping them up. I think it's leukemia treatment. Anyway, um, this doesn't have enough volume for what it is.
Yeah. It surely doesn't, guys.
It's
Very
it's
light.
it's yeah, it's scary
Yeah.
with that light of volume. So
Yeah. Let's head down to GameStop. 7.5 this morning, 540,000. Not huge volume, but nice pop here. And what's causing this today?
we're memeing
We're memeing on it. Okay, so no
a
news,
little
just
bit.
kind of
AMC was
yeah,
doing a little bit of stuff earlier too. So
yeah. I see AMC here. Yeah, AMC up 3.5 again. Both of them with not a whole lot of volume.
yeah,
So we definitely need a lot
see if
more for
something comes
these.
of it.
Yeah, we'll add it GameStop to our possibles list here as well as AMC, and we can always come back to those. We have a Wind here, Wind Resorts. They are up 6.8. I'm not a huge fan of this ticker. Once in a while, they do very well. Right now, they're up slightly 7%, which is actually not, it's a big pop for them. So not a small move on this end. Norm, any news worth
Yep,
looking at this?
absolutely. So this it was announced Tillman Fertitta, who owns the Houston Rockets, and a number of restaurants and casinos, Landry's, Joe's Crab Shack. I don't know if they still own that. Anyway, they own a ton of. He owns a ton of restaurants and casinos and stuff. He took a position in this.
Okay. All right. So AMC, I'm sorry, that win on here. Could be interesting. I see LVS down here as well. We'll look at that next. But yeah, let's put this on here. Up 6.7. More of a possible again. It could be a hit or miss. They're very light on volume, but that kind of news can hopefully do something. MLCO today up 5.8. Extremely light on volume, guys. I'm gonna skip it for now. Looks like another resource. Are these all related, Norm? Are these?
I don't know what's popping that one, frankly.
Yeah, because all resorts, right? You got LVS here as well. Not a whole lot. Again, it's not
MLCO
huge. Yeah.
is casinos too. So
Yeah. So it looks like some casino action here. But again, their volume right now, guys, just barely getting above 100,000. So I think we need to give this just a little bit of more time there. All right, let's head over to down here. We have CCL making some noise, 740,000 shares traded. I do like that volume already this morning. The daily looks interesting. We've been again. We went as low as $6, right? 613 here. We're up now at 913. So we have been making a little bit of a run here towards the top at least. I like this daily. I like this daily. If we can get some movement here, some volume, which is looking good already this morning. This could be something today. So I will add CCL to our main list. We'll keep an eye on that one. Any news? No, before I go to the next one.
I'm not seeing anything new this morning. If somebody has info, let me know.
Yeah, it's not a big gap up, but I do like how the volume is gaining this morning. TSP, this is what is this? This is Too Simple Holdings.
This is a trucking company.
Yeah.
They fired their CEO, and there's some China something going on. So there's some kind of inner turmoil going on here. I don't know if it's tradable, but that's what's happening.
Yeah, down 20%. Again, not a whole lot of volume, just barely getting above 100,000. And they normally do not get great volume to begin with. And I personally don't like this stock at this price. I would like something a little bit higher. So I'm going to skip on it, guys. If you see something building up on that, throw it back out to us. Let's go to PBR. PBR is a hit or miss, right? We see the trade very well, and we see in days where they trade horrible. Today, obviously, they got some action. 2.2 million shares traded so far, and they're down 6.2. Norm, what's the latest on this?
Yep. So Brazil elections, presidential elections, the incumbent lost. The guy coming in is not as friendly to some of the business activity, so they're getting smoked on that.
It's not going to be good for them. Worth keeping an eye on PBR. Again, we traded this before in the past. They can trade very well. I do like the volume and activity this morning, so we'll keep that on there. Let's take a look at some of our Chinese buddies here. XPEV down 4.8 with 941,000. Lee also down 4% with 495. And you have Billy down 3% with 105. So not a whole lot there. Norm, just regular Chinese stuff happening with.
I don't know if it's regular,
overseas?
but it's Chinese stuff.
Yeah. I don't think those two goes together. It's nothing regular
I don't
about
know
that.
if you've seen it, but they're going crazy again with COVID lockdowns.
Yeah,
Disneyland, they immediately shut down Disney. Anybody in the park can't leave,
That's just
whether you're
insane.
a customer or an employee. There are people fleeing Foxconn, huge manufacturing, iPhone manufacturing plant in droves to try to get out because the working conditions are terrible and they're afraid they're going to get locked in there. There's rumors of like 20,000 COVID cases in the area. So, yeah.
Man, that is just
So
wild.
I don't know if you call it regular,
Yeah,
but
that's nothing regular
normal.
about that. That's for sure, or normal. Let's see, guys. I mean, XBEV is the one that has the most volume right now. Again, not a great pre-market activity, so I'm just gonna put it as a possible. Some of my favorite ones, if we're going to trade Chinese tickers, is going to be Baba and Neo. So I'll put them on here, see if they're being affected. They're down. I see Baba down 1.8, not a whole lot of volume, and then Neo, who has been not so great the last couple of days, but really good the last couple of weeks. Right now, 904,000. Same thing as XBEV. Got some good volume, just some sideways stuff happening right now. It doesn't look great. Let's look at On today. They are down 2.6. Horrible pre-market activity. Not that much volume. And the daily's just wild.
They trade terribly. I believe they had earnings this morning, but they trade horribly. So
yeah, we're gonna skip on that. Let's look at Valley here. VALE. This is down 2.5, 245,000. I don't see this South America. This would be the same thing with the president, right?
Company.
Yeah. Okay. So on the same news, PBR looks much better. If I want to play this this catalyst,
better too.
Yeah, it trades better. Agreed. So we'll keep an eye on that one instead. All right, that covers our gappers list, guys. Let's take a look at what you guys have this morning. Norm, anything on your sites today?
Amazon. It was a hell of a trade on Friday.
Yes, it was.
Looks like it might try to continue as long as the market doesn't drag it down too terribly bad.
Yeah. Look at the rip on Friday, guys. The volume, it's just it covered a lot. Recovered a lot of ground from this gap down that they had. And today already good volume, pretty much flat, but they were down slightly this morning. Have recovered a bit here. Yeah, I like Amazon, and we'll see. We'll see if this is an overreaction here, man. I don't know.
Robert's bringing up a good point too. He asked, "Do I see a possible sympathy play on Apple as they're depending on Foxconn for manufacturing? Very possible. Apple could get hit there, so it's another one to keep an eye on."
Yeah. So we'll look at Apple as well. Apple also great on Friday, right? They had the earnings the night before. They dropped quickly and then realized this thing is actually they got good numbers, and then they ripped. I mean, the guys, real nice pop here. This morning already great volume, dropping a little bit. Definitely having them on our list today. All right, let's get over to our chat. Ben E, Amazon Daily, I agree. Amazon's Daily looks good too. I mean, we had this huge gap down, which is going to be nice if we can squeeze into that, depending how the market is going to be. But yeah, Amazon definitely looking real nice. Meta, speak of not so nice. Meta here after just huge collapse on last week. This was Wednesday, I believe, or Thursday. And right now down 1.1. Yeah, I want to watch this. It's not looking great right now, but I do want to keep an eye on this. I think eventually, Norm, I think we talked about this last week, they will start closing this gap a little bit. I mean, I know things have been bad, but man, I don't think they're this bad for these guys. But let's see. They still have a big number of users, right? It's just, I don't know, man. It just seems like it's definitely extended here on the daily. They couldn't get enough Apple on Friday.
Carlos, could you go to the single camera that you do when you do levels? I don't know what's going on, but my camera is lagging and growing and lag terribly. So I think it's more annoying to have it than to switch over. So if you change the layout, that would be great. And I'll just kill that. Good deal. Thanks.
Yeah, I do see that. All right, we'll figure that out, guys.
Yeah, speaking of Meta, nobody wants to fund Zuckerberg's delusions.
Agreed. It's a big gamble, man. He's either gonna be very right, not now, very right in the future, or very wrong.
In 10 years.
But is he gonna run out of money by the time this becomes a reality? You know, is he gonna run the company to the ground before this thing can actually get off the ground? So this actual new
it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. What else, guys? What do you guys have?
Investors aren't sticking around to see.
I agree. That is obviously what's happening here, guys. That is obviously what's happening. Not a good thing. All right, we have Meta Pins, great hammer candle on Friday. Pins reported last week, I believe, as well, if I remember correctly. Yeah, but the volume on this thing is not great. And what did they do Friday? I know I had on my list. They did a couple of things here. Yeah, I'm not sure about pins, guys. I'm gonna keep it off. If we hit the scanners, if it hits the scanners and we're able to do something, then yeah, we take advantage of it, but not a huge fan of it at the moment. Metaverse will rock in 2040. I agree. It's gonna be something. It will be part of.
Social media gonna be a thing in 2040. I know that Metaverse is not a social media deal, but can they sustain themselves long enough to even do what they think they're going to be able to do?
Right. Well, all the money
is anybody going to want it?
Right. All the money they're pouring into this thing.
Something to be said about seeing people in person.
Yep. Agree. It says of the curve once again. What heads up if the curve once again is it going to bust? What do you mean exactly? Got you. The company. Yeah, Joe, got you. Yeah, now I understand coming. Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. We have to. Time will tell, but he's not budging. He's not hard headed, but he's he really believes in this metaverse. All right, guys, we covered stuff there. Let's take a look over on our YouTube chat. What do you guys have this morning? Amazon we have on deck. ENSC. ENSC. What is this? Oh, okay, we got something moving here. Got some good volume. 1.5 million. Horrible daily. Very, very concerning daily activity here, but it looks like they got some volume. I don't like what's happening now, though. This is not looking good right now, right? Because you had the initial pop here, which is great. You held no levels whatsoever, or you're not holding anything. You're coming right back down to 3.9. And this got halted. What is TB? I don't think I've ever seen that.
Hard to borrow.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, I never seen that. Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen it on a TI either. Or not TI, on IB.
Well, you know, I upgraded my my platform today because they were
Maybe
saying, oh, you
that's
gotta
why. Maybe
upgrade.
that's what it
Yeah,
is.
maybe that's new. Well, that's nice. Hard to borrow. It's good to know. Um, but yeah, it's this is not looking good, guys. Coming back down here, you don't want to be involved in this. I don't see how that could turn out good. Um, all right, I think we are set, guys. Let's head over to community events and announcement. One last one from our buddy Indonesia's Pathways here. Let's see what we got. You said Boyo. Boyo. What's happening with Boyo? Up
Nat gas is on the
13.4.
move. That's a
Oh, is
nat
it is
gas
ETF
ETF. Yeah,
times three or
leveraged.
leverage? Okay.
Yes.
Careful, guys, with those. But yeah, this is I wouldn't add this to my list, but you could be aware that hey, this is happening. Just be careful if you're gonna be doing these leverage tickers, man. They can
Oh,
move.
show.
All right, let's head over to bearbootraders.com, guys. You can go over there, click on webinars at the top or
Yep.
bearbootraders/webinars, and we'll give you the rundown for the next 2 weeks.
Every Monday night. You doing onboarding tonight, Carlos? I don't know what your travel schedule is.
Yes, I leave tomorrow afternoon, so I will be doing onboarding, and I will be in the pre-market show tomorrow as well. Yep.
Nice. So, especially if you're a new member coming on, or if you're on YouTube and you haven't been in the chat, you can come to the onboarding and technology class we do every Monday night for free. Just sign up on the homepage in the email capture, and you'll get an email a few hours before that begins. That's every week at 8 p.m. Then on Tuesday we have strategy. Tomorrow, Eamon's going to be doing managing an opening position. That's at 5 p.m. Note the special time due to his time zone. And then next week, Thor is going to be talking about VPA and the how. Wednesdays, we save for psychology. This Wednesday, we've got Dr. Kenneth Reed. Note the special time there. He is in the U.S. and doesn't have a time zone problem, but with all of us in Florida, order a recorder, we moved it up to 5 p.m. That's going to be about handling pressure. And then the following week, CREDA, 5 p.m., how to identify negative thinking. Thursdays, we have mentorship at 11 a.m. with John and 8 p.m. with Thor. Also, tradingterminal.com, your one-stop shop for all your trading information. You can get the earnings calendar, blog pieces, opinions, charts, research, news, the scanners, and don't forget about stocktradingsimulator.com. They can be accessed through there as well, which is our free web-based replay simulator. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't been in the chat, you'd like to try it out, you can do so with a no obligation trial membership. It's a one-time payment, does not auto renew or anything like that. Just do the intro at 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the room. Promo code PreMarket24 to get a discount on that. And if you'd like to become an elite member, you can use the promo code READ50 to get half off the elite annual and a free one-on-one coaching session with Dr. Kenneth Reed.
Thank you very much, Norm, for that. Just a heads up, there could be potentially a bunch of social media folks shorting Apple as an inverse Kramer play. He was quoted saying, "Buy Apple, don't trade it."
Always could.
Yes, it's so funny.
Yeah,
I saw that.
He said that about
too.
Apple. He's said that about Apple though for years as well. So I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of one of his taglines on some of this stuff. So.
Yeah. So maybe this drop is because of that, right? No, I don't think.
That's Foxconn.
Yeah, Apple is doing his own thing. Kramer, I don't think, can move Apple. Other smaller companies have seen him do some crazy stuff, but Apple, I don't think he has that much power to do that. Who knows? All right, guys, let's get to it. Our list right now: CCL, PBR, Amazon, Apple, and Meta. This morning is what we have on here, and then some secondary stuff that can get going. Wind actually up 6% is good. GameStop, oh, look at GameStop is picking up some volume here, guys, and starting to get going. So 623,000 now, 32,000, trying to head towards the high of the day, which is a high of the pre-market at 31.20. So let's keep an eye on that one. And then we have AMC, not so hot at the moment, but GameStop definitely looking really good today. So I'm gonna move this up again. You got to be careful, guys. Treat this like, you know what? I'm actually going to put it down as it's not a low flow, but as a risky pile type play, right? So you just got to be careful with this thing. Again, we've seen how aggressive these squeezes can become. So just be mindful of that. All right, set. I think we're all good to go. What was this? Was Jason had a nightmare last night? Norm, I had a nightmare last night. Dreamt that Carlos and yourself stopped doing the pre-market show and the room was silent to the open.
Terrifying.
No, that's terrifying, but we're still here. Andrew used to have nightmares like that. I remember one time he said he came in, there was nobody in the chat as well. Scary stuff, man. No, we're here. We're here. All right, let's do some levels, guys. Let's start with CCL. We are doing high of the pre-market over at 917. So we'll slam that down there. And then over above the pre-market highs, we got a couple of levels on the daily. This one here at 984. This is a mid-level here between the high of the pre-market and that 984. That's going to be 945. I do like that one. Tons of support, as you can see right on there on that 945. So pretty good stuff there towards the top. Towards the bottom, previous day close from Friday, you have highs and lows from the last two trading days. You can mark down your low of your pre-market here at 882. We'll slam a level there, and then I think you're pretty much set when it comes to CCL. Right now we're up almost 2%. Some good volume, 853,000. So we have been picking up here pretty good. Here's PBR, guys. Big drop today with what's going on there with the president that's not too fond of some of these companies, I guess. $12 low of the pre-market at the moment. We do have a level here at 1268, so we will slam one there also. The price action is actually slightly at a level as well. You got this area here, this low of this day here, the highs of these 2 days here. So you kind of got some touches there. I'm going to mark that down as well, see if that becomes anything. When you got the initial drop, this is where you actually found some support as well. Continue to drop, but this actually kind of stalled a little bit. And you can see this level having a little effect on the action even this morning in the pre-market. So worth noting down. Towards the bottom, in case we're dropping below that 12, this day, again, this is a foreign company, so the daily is not great. You can see how nasty it gets here, how choppy it is, how small the candles are. But you do got 1166 and one more just in case this news is going to explode to the downside. We have 1117. So I think that's plenty for this taker. Again, not the best daily if you're looking at this saying, why the heck do we have this on our list today? Not a great daily, but we have traded PBR in the past. It can trade decent at times. Here's Amazon with some good volume already, 1.1 million shares traded. Low of the pre-market, 102.28. We'll slam a level there. And then if we look, we have this nice, beautiful gap down that we can possibly get into this morning if we are going to be strong for today. Slightly negative news this morning on no, sorry, that's for Apple. Never mind. That was for Apple that we got slightly negative news today. Amazon, not that I'm aware of it has anything negative this morning. 105, another level here based off the daily. And then up to the top here, we have a couple, 106. And then we have really the highs and lows from Thursday after the gap down on Friday. Again, beautiful recovery Friday there after the gap down. And I think we're set there, guys. Highs and lows, previous day close. We're pretty good on Amazon. I do like the volume this morning on Amazon. That is looking very nice. Over 1.2 million shares traded so far. Here's Apple. These guys have slightly negative news today. They are down at 1.3. Low of the pre-market 140, 153.46 just being created here. Below that, you do have your highs and lows of the last two trading days. We ran up nicely on Friday after the earnings play. 151.92, another area where we can see some support or resistance. That's also reflected on the daily here as well. You got a couple of days opening and closing right around that area. Let's take a look at Meta. This morning here, guys. Pretty much, I don't think you need to do anything else on Meta. You're stuck in this little island here after the huge gap down. You got your highs and lows of the last two trading days. If you go back, we haven't been down here in years. So I think we got some pretty good levels of the most recent activity in the last two trading days. I think we're all set there for Meta. Let's see what it does today. Some decent volume starting to pick up now, 688. We will see where that goes. Our secondary list, we have Wind here. We have GameStop, which is, look at GameStop hitting the high of the pre-market now. So GameStop looking very, very interesting. I actually have it as my risky stock of the day right over here. Again, just because they could be so explosive. They're not as wild as they were, a couple of years back, but they still could be very explosive. So you want to be careful with this. 3280, a breakout level there as a daily level. And then we do have, let me see here, the clean levels over here at 36, right? Very clear there. And you also have a level over at 34.54, worth marking that down as well. And I think you're pretty much set. I am going to mark down this level here as well on the pre-market, 29.81, worth noting also. And if you notice here on the daily, you can see there's a lot of support happening around that 29.81. So you got a couple of days using support and resistance on this 29.81 level. So worth noting there. And let's see if we could break the high of the pre-market, heading to 31.20. Again, this stock can be very explosive. I agree with you, Jared. It looks very good for today. Again, just the way it's trading this morning, the volume coming in, looking very, very nice. GameStop, risky stock from 2020 to 2022. Yeah, I agree, man. This stock, it can, it's not as aggressive as it was in the past, right? It has tamed down a little bit, so not as crazy, but still gotta be mindful of your share sizing, your stops, and not letting this one run away from you. This thing runs away from you, and you're gonna pay big time. So again, if it starts going against your direction, this is not one where you want to have a relapse on your discipline. It can cost you big time. So be mindful. So if you're new, right, know your skill level. If you're new, this is one you don't want to have on your list today. Don't get tempted by it, right? And somebody says, "Oh, GameStop in the chat." Don't get tempted. Don't even look at it, right? You have to have experience to trade this ticker, and just be aware of that, right? Be very disciplined to know what your skill level is as a trader. It's very, very important. All right, guys, we got a good list today. Not a great list, but it's decent. We have CCL, which is yeah, not doing a whole lot. We'll see. I like the daily more than anything. Pre-market and pretty dull right now. PBR very active in the pre-market activity this morning, down 7.3. Amazon flat as far as gapping up or down, but has good volume, guys. 1.3 million shares trade after the drop on Friday. Here on Apple, we do have a nice little drop. Also great volume, 1.4 on this thing after an incredible a breakout above 150 over to 158, where we're seeing, if you look at the daily here, you're seeing some areas of resistance right on there. No surprise why that was your high of your day on Friday. Let's see what it does today. It can go either way here. I would prefer to go northeast, but we'll see what Apple does today. And then Meta we have here, again, just stuck in this islands. We might not get a whole lot out of Meta today. We might just be stuck in some sideways action, but we will see. AMC, yeah, I think we're all set here, guys. Anything else we might have missed? Any questions? We do got plenty of time, 8:57 at the moment. John's looking at Apple and PBR. Yeah, so those are two good ones, especially Apple. You can never go wrong with that. GameStop getting primed for a squeeze. Yes, it is. It's hitting here. There you go. Starting to break out from the high of the pre-market, as you can see there. Christian, INTC, did they have any earnings or news last week? What was the pop last week? Was it earnings? I can't remember. What caused them to shoot up? Yeah, must have been earnings, because this is the after hours action on INTC Intel, and then you can see here it was in play the following day. So it looks like they had some good numbers on there in INTC. Then you ran up. Today they're continuing their move here, guys. They're up slightly, almost 1%. 329,000 shares trade. I guess was the numbers that good for these guys? Looks like they're doing very well. Possible. I like the continuation here. INTC again, Intel, not the best intraday trading stock, but they got some momentum off the move from Friday. And look at this daily. I mean, this is a strong play, guys. You sold off the entire day Thursday. On Friday, you gap up, not from here, right? Don't be confused. You're not gapping up from here to here. You're doing from here to here, right? It's a big move, right? You kind of basically in the pre-market or after hours cover the entire drop from Thursday, ran up to 29, and this morning you're running up as well, almost 1%. So, Christian, I agree. This one could be interesting today. I might actually move this up and have a little space this morning, see how strong the continuation play is going to be. But again, Intel could be a hit or miss very quickly. So if you see yourself stuck in some chop, just let it go and find another opportunity. Here's Roku this morning up 2.2, 106,000. I'm not seeing great pre-market action on this, but again, Roku's known for not doing a whole lot in the pre-market. We'll have to see if this volume here continues. So let's give it a little time. BBBY volume spike. This is probably memeing as well, right? You got all the meme stocks. Oh, look at that. Yeah, 66,000 shares dropped in this one candle here. And again, I think this might be a sympathy play with GameStop and AMC, because I'm not aware of any other news on BBBY besides this company should have been bankrupt a long time ago. But yeah. I'd rather watch GameStop. I think GameStop got the best volume this morning. If you want to play any of those meme stops, I think GameStop is the one today. That's what we're ripping here through to the high of the pre-market at the moment. ATNM, yeah, we looked at this earlier. I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, this thing, it popped up all the way to 1350. Since then, it has sold off, even when red again, and now it's just going sideways. This to me is not a great action at all, right? And look at the volume on the daily. I mean, these guys are today. It could be a difference in volume because already in the pre-market you're trading the same amount you've been trading the last few days here, right? This is the entire trading day, about 500,000 shares traded. And on their regular days, I mean, they're doing what is this? What is this? 100,000? Guys, that's horrible, horrible, horrible. So I don't think we're going to get anything great on this. Especially, we got to come back up. We got to start pushing up against some of these highs of the pre-market. If we just hang out here, it might not be something that's really in play or good for us. You know what we did, Chip? We have not looked at Nvidia. Let's take a look at Nvidia. So let's take a look at that. Nvidia today. And AMD is going into earnings this week. Looking forward to that one. Nvidia today, we are pretty much flat. Pretty much flat. But you know what? Do I have space? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we got space for Nvidia. We'll do Nvidia. That'll create our 6 there. And AMD is gonna be doing earnings later this week. I think that'll be going to watch then. Right now, not doing a whole lot. Just kind of stuck in this choppy area. Look at AMD, right? And before that, it was this over here. Couldn't get above 58.75, and man, it just went sideways. AMD has just gone sideways for a very, very long time. Now we're in a different range, just slightly above the prior range. So interesting there. Looking forward to earnings on this. I think that is when we're going to have this heavily in play. Yes, Uber has earnings also coming in this week. When is Uber's earnings? Let's see here. Uber will be tomorrow. Tomorrow pre-market will have Uber earnings. So I'll have this on my list tomorrow. I'm not going to watch it now. That usually before earnings, they are not great. Usually AMD will be also tomorrow after hours. So again, that's when we'll be really focused on those two. All right, moderators list coming in. I have Thor, I have Peter. We'll wait for a few more and I will bring that over so we can watch that. Guys, if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. Appreciate it very much. We are sitting at how many likes? 115. We'll love to get to 250 if we can. We appreciate it very much. That's our goal for today. All right, Roku is good. Need some more volume on. Yeah, white noise jack on is yeah, they had earnings and all that, and they blew out their earnings. Great, but just look at this thing for intraday trading. I mean, this is probably not something you really want to watch right now. At least for the way I trade, this would not be on my list, man. It just looks very, very light on volume. And Norm mentioned, I haven't traded this or looked at it before, but Norm mentioned they don't trade very well. So and I could tell here on the daily too, they look very, very choppy, I want to say. So I'm going to keep that off my list. But again, it all depends on your style of trading. The way I trade, this probably won't be a good opportunity for me. What are the Qs doing? Qs are slightly down today. SPY's pretty much flat today at the moment. Yeah, so yeah, we're doing good, guys. We're not dropping 2% here. If you're not down 2%, you're doing pretty good early this morning. I'm not saying it's going to stay like that. We'll see. It's a lot of people feel that this is not the bottom, right? People feel that actually, I did a poll on this on Twitter. There's more people that feel that there's more pain to come, right? There's more pain to come. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, this looks nice, looks promising, but we'll have to see how things are going to play out here. All right, over in our chat, guys, any questions, anything else that we might cover this morning? I'm looking at Peter's list. He has Boo on there, BOO. And if you're wondering, that's not a ticker, but it plays well for today. Did you guys see Jared's attire this morning? If you haven't done so, if you missed it, you can go on YouTube and you can rewind back. Did anybody take a screenshot? I hope somebody took a screenshot of that. But yeah, you can rewind back and take a look at it. It is very, very nice. All right, we'll wait for more moderators here. I see Susan got her list out as well. We'll read those out in a moment. Oh, Jared too. Okay, we're good to go. I forgot. I didn't see these guys up here. We got Jared, Susan, Thor, and we got Peter. All right, perfect. Let's take a look at our team's watch list this morning as we get ready to open up this week and also the last month of trading on this Halloween day. So let's bring this over, see what our moderators are watching here, and take a look here. You know what, Mad Max, I thought the same thing. He looked just like Ninja. I think that's his hair, the hair color he uses, right? So yeah, just like Ninja there. Jared, Apple, GameStop, Boyle, secondary list, AMD, Amazon, and Tesla. Susan will be looking at Meta, Oxy, Amazon, Netflix, and AMD. Thor, BA, Win, Disney, Intel, and AEO and Pins on his secondary list. No IPOs, no SPACs being reported today. And if we look here at a Peter, he's looking at Boo, AMD, Apple, secondary list, WIM, Meta, XPO, and or PBR. So either one of these two, based on the news this morning or over the weekend. And we'll see which ones of those are going to be good. I have PBR on my list. Out of all of these, I think PBR I have traded before in the past, and it seems to trade slightly better than like what's the other one that's on here? We do have what's another one on here I think you guys mentioned. I forget the name now, but yeah, I think PBR is better. Valley is the other one, I believe. PBR trades a lot better. Okay, we are set, guys. 9:06, and we are good to go this this Monday morning. Anything else, guys? Anything that we missed? Anything we should look at? Anything on our gappers list? No, our gappers list is covered. Both sides this Paramount. What's going on with Paramount? Oh, they're down 3% today. What's the news on Paramount? Down 3%. These guys don't move a whole lot. I mean, the drop these guys have taken, right? Where was it here? It is just insane. And last year too. Last year they had the huge drop. Yeah, look at this, man. This is wild. This is where that gentleman lost like a couple of billions, I think it was. It's just, man, it's on Paramount and some other companies. I mean, it's just insane. What's the news? The news on GameStop is just memeing today. There's no actual news on this thing. Just got our friends over at Wall Street Bets doing their thing, and hopefully we can join the party as well. Right now they're getting above that 31.20. Next level I have is 32.80 on the daily. Let's see if we can get there. So we'll have a look at that in a second. Cindy, thank you. Yeah, a lot of us are traveling tomorrow. I know I am traveling to our workshop for Wednesday. I'm traveling tomorrow afternoon, so I'll be with you guys here in the pre-market show, and then the next pre-market show on Wednesday will be live from the workshop session. So that should be fun. Norm and I will be running the pre-market show in the same room first time, so that'll be good. There it is. There is Jared's Halloween hat for today, or attire. Not really a hat. So yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I think Jared he wore a hat like 2 weeks in a row. He wore something different like for the last 2 weeks coming up, winding up to Halloween. So, and my favorite one was the burger, the BYND burger. That was my favorite one for sure. No question. I think I have it here. Here we go. This was my favorite one. Right on there. That's pretty good. Guys, if you haven't done so already, also follow Norm and I at Norm BBT and at Carlos M BBT. Follow us on Twitter. We're constantly on there putting stuff and sharing topics and fun stuff as well with you. This morning I have a poll going. What do you use, mental stops or hard stops for trading? At the moment, 62% use hard stops and only 38 use mental stops. So let's see how that ends. We'll look at that tomorrow again. Let's see how that goes. Curious to see what people are using. Was normal okay after that? After what? After the Jared's hat? You're asking about the graph. Which graph? Meme stocks always hard stops. Yeah, and and even hard stops. I mean, these things are so scary. But I agree. Hard stops, you gotta, you gotta protect yourself at all costs when it comes to these risky plays, right? So yeah, you gotta be very, very careful. So AV Software thought that he woke up to the metaverse when he saw Jared with his attire today. That was good. All right, guys, we are looking good here right now. Our list, GameStop again ripping above the high of the pre-market. Our list this morning, CCL, which again had a move here and hasn't done much the last couple of minutes. PBR, that's okay. Amazon is great. Looking forward to that. Apple continues to drop there, losing the low of the pre-market at the moment. No, the news on Apple was what was it?
Foxconn.
Foxconn. Yeah, Foxconn. There you go. So little negative
Oh,
news
that's
after
a big part of it.
yeah, big part of it drop here. So let's see. Meta's interesting, and also Nvidia has been so great. We'll keep an eye on this. Look at the rip in the last couple of days. So we'll see what happens there. All right, folks. We are good. Any questions? We still got a little bit of time before we hop off. Any more questions you got? Is there any news on Wind? Yeah, Norm mentioned the news on Wind earlier.
And
Wind, yeah.
Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Houston Rockets and multiple casino and restaurant properties, has taken a sizable stake in it.
Yeah. So they are
There's
again.
and then Las Vegas Sands and MLCO, they have some news on Macau stuff. So
Yeah, I have them here as well. They're in our gapless list this morning, but we're looking good here. We are hitting again. Looks like we want to go back towards the high of the day, and yeah, it might be interesting. 62.41 on here. That's also a big daily level as well. So let's see. They're up 6.2, 212,000. That type of volume is actually really good for this ticker. They normally do not trade heavy volume, so that is looking good there. Amazon forming a wedge. Yeah, Amazon's got great
It is.
volume.
I'm
Yeah.
actually in Amazon from earlier. So
Oh, nice. So yeah, you got a nice higher lows happening here. That looks good. You can see that wedge forming right there. I'm so you're bullish on this, right? I mean,
yeah,
yellow. Yeah. This is looking like it wants to rip, man. It's been strong this morning too. Don't get confused by this 1 point, slightly negative number here. They ripped from 102, right? So let's see. We'll see what it does. All right, here it is. Brian, the man, his watch list today, GameStop. Hold on, let me break this over actually. GameStop, Wind, and a PBR, Apple, and Meta on his list today. So very similar to what we have going on as well as we build our Monday morning watch list. All right, guys, we are set. Thank you guys for joining us here over on YouTube. We appreciate it. We're going to continue on our chat. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. 163 likes. We'd love to get to 250 if we can. So if you haven't done so, help us there. 334 watches. So we'd love to see that pop up. So guys, thank you so much. And we will continue here in chat. It's going to be an interesting day and looking forward to some good earnings this week. Catch us tomorrow again at 8 a.m. And then 8:30 for Norm and I for the pre-market show. Take care, guys. Stay safe.
take care, guys. Trade safe.